Yeah, we're gonna do this very fast because I really don't want to spend too long talking about this movie. It's Madam Web.
Hey, come on. Get your stuff. Let's go. Let's try that again.
It was bad. It was bad, and what makes it bad is the same thing that makes all of these Marvel Spider-Man list movies bad is there's no Spider-Man, but there's too many in this one in particular, there's too many attachments to Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
you have these three different Spider-Women, four if you count Madam Web. You have evil Spider-Man, and then to top it all off, you have Ben and what's her name, Mary Parker, who are like they are having a child, which is alluded to be Peter, but they don't
Well,
say it's
uh,
Peter.
once again, this is one I did do for the show. We do have a video on it, which is called Madam Web. Sure is a movie because it is. Joe, would you agree? It sure is a movie.
Barely.
Um, it's really just an advertisement for other projects they will never make. Um,
Like it's
yeah,
frustrating.
the dialogue
It's
is bad. The bad guy, he is. I mean, I don't know if you once I pointed it out. I don't know if you noticed that he's clearly not speaking his own dialogue. He's been dubbed over.
I I didn't notice, but to be fair, I could only pay so much attention to this without going
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. He looks like Spider Man for no reason other than to look like Spider Man. There's no narrative reason for it. Um, yeah, there's no action sequences in it. Like they're in the costumes for like they're not like barely in the costumes, and it's a shame because the costumes look good. Um,
Yeah, it's not a superhero
it's
movie.
not,
It is, but it's not.
but it's not. And then I forgot about the fact that he's Ben Parker, which clearly at one point in the writing of this was gonna be a twist, but I'm guessing in test screenings it wasn't obvious that he was supposed to be Ben Parker, so they ADR in a line to tell you that he's Ben Parker because the movie thinks you're too stupid to get the fact that he's Ben Parker, even though it's really obvious.
Yeah, it's a bad movie is kind of the point. It also bombed.
It bombed
Um,
horribly.
like it bombed very hard. Um, and it's just yeah,
It's badly acted,
I
badly performed, badly written. It got just Swiss
well,
cheesed in editing.
I mean, I can't. It's one of those cases where it's like I don't necessarily want to be unfair when it comes to the acting because when you're given a shit script,
Yeah.
there's only so much you can do to make that better. Individually, I don't necessarily like. I don't think she's a bad Madam Web necessarily.
Yeah,
I
I
just
mean, to be fair, she's not an adaptation of the Madam Web you know, which is.
no, she's her own version, and that's not a
Oh, no, no,
bad
no.
thing.
She's not her own version. She is an adaptation of a version of Madam Web. Um, uh, there's a version of Madam Web who is a young woman who I can't remember the exact details of her backstory, but basically it ends with her becoming Madam Web, kind of similar to this. She is not.
Yeah.
She is the Cassandra something version of Madam Web. She's like the second version of Madam Web. The old lady version of Madam Web that you know is a different version. She's not that.
Yeah, that was Stanley's wife.
Yeah, that was Stanley's wife. But that version of Madam Web, she's a different version. She's the first Madam Web. She is in the comics
So
as well.
so my point was just more like the performances aren't necessarily the bad, but like
No, this thing got like torn to
this
shreds in
this
the
thing
edit. I'm
got
sure there's an over.
yeah,
Yeah,
this thing got Swiss cheesed and it just suffers for it,
part
and
of the
so
problem with
I'm sure if we're talking since we're talking multiverse stuff, I'm sure there's a world where there is a good version of this movie.
oh, I'm
We're
sure.
just not we're just not living in that
Yeah,
world, and
we're never
that's
gonna see it.
really
The
that's really all I have to say about
the
that
big
one.
problem with a lot of some of those we're gonna talk about Venom in a moment, but the Venom movies don't suffer from this as much as like Craven, or I haven't seen Craven, but as much as Morbius or this did, where it clearly wants to be in the Sam Raimi universe, but didn't want to put the Sam Raimi Spider-Man in it because yeah, there's references to like for example, you see the Sam Raimi version of the Daily Bugle. At one point, there's a character that's reading that version of the same thing in Morpheus. In the trailer for
Yeah,
Morpheus,
and I
Spider-Man is literally
believe
in the background at one point.
one of the three Spider Girls makes a comment about one of her or about her uncle or something works at the Bugle.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's a reference to like weird stuff happening in New York, I think, which is sort of a pseudo reference to, and then yeah, and then in Morpheus, I don't know if I can't remember if it's in the actual movie, but in the trailer he's like I'm Venom. So these movies seem like they want to be, but don't want to be for some. Sony just decided that for some reason they
Which
didn't want to be, which they could have been.
Yeah, which is even more frustrating because they could have had full. Yeah, it's dumb. It's a dumb
It's
situation.
so
But
dumb,
that's really all I have to say about Madam Web. It's not very good. It's frustrating that it's not very good because it could have been better.
right? We will
Um,
we will come back to the Spum to Spum. We will return to Spum one final time because I have got to watch Craven. When it comes to digitals next year, I have got to watch Craven. I will. My life will not be complete. I cannot go through life if I don't watch all of them. Um, it will be an incomplete thing if I don't watch Craven. So I will come back to Craven.
so, with that being said, I think it's time we wrap up with Venom: The Last
Also,
Dance.
Jordan will inevitably do Morbius.
It will never be Morbin time.
It will. Jordan. We both know it will inevitably out of a sheer morbid curiosity and for content. Jordan, content. It'll be Morbin time. But yes, we must wrap up with Venom 3.
The
God, Venom,
Last
The
Dance.
Last Dance. God, what a weird movie. That movie
Not
was
to be
so weird.
not to be confused with the 2004 movie called The Last
The
Dance.
Last Dance, which is a different movie. This is
It's a
Venom,
this is
colon,
Venom.
The Last Dance.
You should probably know that I have a really dark and unpredictable side to me.
Stop speaking.
I'm giving you a chance, sweetie.
Say when.
When?
Which, like, yeah, this is another example of this one reminded me of Kung Fu Panda 4, where it was like, it's a lot of stuff that feels like it should be cool. Like, it feels like I should be excited by this, but it isn't. I don't know
Well,
how
it's
else to
not.
describe
It's
it.
for me. It's not exciting because we've like you have all the Venoms teaming up at the end, and it's like I guess it's exciting because instead of him having to fight them all, they're working together this time.
Right? And,
So
oh, they're teaming
I,
up this time, I
I,
guess.
I guess that's where
And
the
some of
excitement is
them
supposed
look
to come.
cool, I guess. It really reminded me of Iron Man 3, where all the Iron Man suits show up and they're all vaguely similar looking, and you're like, this isn't really all that exciting. It feels like it
No,
should be, but it's not.
like they really want to like amp it because it's his quote unquote last outing.
Well, and it's also like, oh hey,
But
yeah, that's Riot, and oh hey, that's Scream, and okay, yeah,
right, but they've done different symbiotes before
yeah,
in
but
the previous
this
movies.
time it's actually purple instead of just being kind of vaguely silver like Riot
I
was.
mean, right? Who cares? Who
Someone
cares?
who's a fan of Riot would care, I guess. It's just those characters aren't. They're not like Carnage. Those life Foundation symbiotes aren't iconic enough for people to care. Is what I would say. And
Yeah,
like
no,
there's just really long scenes of the bad guys, the Area 55 people, which are just not very interesting. Um,
no.
the
I mean,
the
overall,
this one
I had
feels
a
like
fun
it.
time. I had a fun time with this movie, mostly because of the dynamic. It's the same with all of them.
The best part of
Tom
these movies is
Hardy,
Tom Hardy and Venom.
Tom Hardy, and Venom. They're
When it's
really just
just
pulling it up.
Yeah, when it's just a buddy road trip movie between and there's none of that end of the world life ending world ending stake stuff, and it's just him and Venom on a buddy road trip movie. Like that's the only stuff that's good, but like there were moments where I found myself being like, man, it's been a while since I've actually seen Venom. Like the MacGuffin, or I should say the bit where he couldn't turn to Venom or the things would find him, just felt like it was there because showing Venom is expensive and they needed a narrative reason for him to
Yeah,
not be Venom.
yeah, yeah. I had that same thought.
It was like,
My
oh
all
yeah,
my
clearly
other
that Venom effect's expensive.
my other thing. So in the beginning of the movie, he's in the MCU,
Yep.
and then he can just go to to other any universe, his universe,
No,
all
he
the
got
universes.
the implication. Well, in the
Because
original version of it.
in this, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking this movie. In this
Oh no, the
movie, it comes.
implication here is that he got sent back when Null sent out all the. That's when
Okay,
he
because
got pulled.
that's not what I took from it. What I
Yeah.
took from it was he had been hanging out in the MCU and they got bored and wanted to go home, and that's
No, no,
when
no.
they chose to go
And
back.
the scene is that he's still in the scene, the ending scene from Homecoming, but instead of him getting teleported by Doctor Strange's spell, it's now been retconned that he got pulled back through the portal, the Doctor Strange portals that Null opened up to send the dog things through. When he opened up the portals to send the dog things through, that pulled Venom back into his own dimension.
I don't think you're right about that, but I'm too lazy to look it
Well,
up.
it's badly it's what basically the same time that Null sends the dogs out, so it could be that he gets pulled. Basically, he gets pulled through the portal. He gets pulled backwards through the portal. So
Yeah, Wikipedia just says they're forced back.
yeah, yeah,
It doesn't really say by who.
yeah.
You could still interpret
That
that,
it's Doctor Strange's spell and it's just being visualized differently.
yeah.
Who's to say? Because the portals that Null is sending the dog things through look like Doctor Strange portals. They just do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they
yeah.
do.
And then
I
yeah,
didn't really so I feel like the whole null thing is supposed to be this cool thing and I don't
yeah,
it meant nothing to me.
he's Venom's ultimate bad guy, basically.
Yeah, it meant nothing to me.
If you're
Um
familiar with modern Venom comics, it's a big deal. But apparently, it's not a very
I'm
good
not.
representation of him anyway, because fans of Null don't even like it. So
I'm not and so it meant nothing to me. Um
but he's too
I I I really wanted this movie to have Spider-Man in it
I
and
mean,
have
yes.
a Spider-Man
He
fight.
he doesn't work in this movie because he's too dark of a bad guy for this movie. Like he doesn't ever actually he reminds me of Thanos in a bad way where he's like, "Oh, is he going to get out of his chair? Oh, he's not getting out of his chair. Oh, he's not going to get out of the chair.
No, that'll
Cool.
be in the next movie.
Cool, he's not getting out of the chair." Yeah, but they're not making another movie. This is the last one.
No, Justin, it's
That's gonna
not.
be in
They'll make it.
Spider-Man. That's gonna be in Spider-Man 4. He's supposedly gonna show up in Spider-Man 4.
Oh
Apparently,
yeah.
him and Tom Hardy
and-
Venom are gonna show up in Spider-Man 4.
I was gonna say that's when he'll come back. Because
That's when he'll
the
get
one
out of his chair.
because that's the one thing that Tom Hardy hasn't got
Um,
to do. He hasn't gotten to work with a Spider-Man.
But like that, he's legitimately like intimidating villain. I will give it that. Like, but it really doesn't. It's not working because then you had these weird tone. This movie has a tone problem. This movie has a tone problem because like there's all these weird inconsistent scenes of like him in Vegas doing a absurdly way too long dance number with Mrs. Chen that just goes on for fucking ever.
Yeah, or the scene where he's at the casino doing the slots.
That goes on for fucking ever. Or the bit where he's in the car singing Ground Control to Major Tom with the family, who was a weird subplot that, alright, that was very strange.
Yeah. This movie was like an hour 50 and it could have been like an hour 40,
It
an
could have,
hour.
I would have said it could have been an hour and a half. Easy. Could have been an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But like this movie feels like it's two scripts that got mashed together into one movie. Like it was at one point literally just like the whole movie was Venom and okay, that scene where they kill the Mexican gangsters is from a completely different movie. It's
Yeah.
just like it feels like at one point that's what the movie was. It was just a road trip movie of Venom and Tom Hardy on the run, them killing bad guys, and there was also this script for this Null movie, and they just mashed it together in a way that doesn't really work. It does
It's
not
sort of a.
service either
I mean,
version of this.
the thing is that this is another example where you could have had the null monsters and have it be where they were hunting them and never show null.
Right? Right?
Showing null adds nothing to this movie,
But
other
also
than
like
they do it just so that you know how scary he is.
right? But also, and it's also very weird because, like, yeah, they almost immediately after Craven came out were like, we're not doing any more of these. So it's a bad guy that, like, he's too, if you know him, which I do, he's too big of a bad guy for this. He very much is a
What
Thanos. So, like,
see
you're
what
setting up
it
a
what
Thanos
it,
at the end of your story. What? That doesn't make any
what
sense.
yeah what it feels like is it feels like in the first draft of this script, it feels like it was largely the same where they were like trying to run from the US government or whatever. They
Yeah.
were on the run, and it was a buddy cop movie, and the thing that was hunting them, the symbiote monster that was hunting them, was a thing that the US government created.
I could see
That's
that. I could believe that
that
because of it be like fusing back to. But no, well, I will say the xenophages. They are a thing from that run of
I'm sure I'm
comics.
I'm sure they are. I'm just saying I could believe that there was a world where in an original version of
Oh
the
yeah.
script they were an homage to those
Well,
characters,
that
but they were created in this version of events. They were created by
I
humans,
would I would not
and
be
they
surprised if
and they
yes.
shoved Nolan there.
I completely believe that because it does feel like at one point in the scripting process that the symbiotes that are at the Area 55 were man-made. That they're
Either
human
man,
control
either man-made, or they had been experimented on to create the hunter,
or
so that they could
something.
hunt down
But
the
well,
rest of the
just
symbiotes.
I just think that those symbiotes that the people are using, like the bit where I think those were man-made symbiotes because that's why they don't bother to be like, wait, don't the symbiotes like kill people instantly if they're the wrong person to bond with, so they can just bond with anyone now? I suspect that's why, because the bit where she's running along carrying the purple one. That again feels like a scene from a different version of this script. Like this movie feels like it's 3 or 4 versions of this script all cobbled into one movie. Like that's
I
just
mean,
what it
yeah,
feels like.
it wouldn't surprise me. Sony is kind of notoriously bad for that.
Like I also wouldn't be surprised, yeah, if at one point Spider-Man showed up at the end of this. I just because it does end with him going to New York, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was a scene where Eddie sees Spider-Man swing by or something. Like it would not surprise me if Spider-Man showed up at the end of this. It just wouldn't. And also, yeah, okay, this movie is obviously an example of like we know how the sausage is made. So like you're watching this and you're like, yeah, Tom Hardy's gonna come back for a thing. He's gonna come back. He'll come back for
Yeah,
Secret Wars. Obviously, he'll come back for Secret Wars. Why
yeah.
wouldn't he come back for Secret Wars?
He just doesn't want to do another full
But
movie.
like, no, please don't. We'll wrap this up because I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else to say?
No, and I'd like to eat.
Um, yeah, it. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, you said
It
it.
reeks of editor
It
notes.
breaks the better. No, oh yeah, you said it best when you said if you pretend that this is a separate character from Spider-Man, has nothing to do with Marvel, is unrelated to Marvel in every single way, they're all right movies.
Yeah, yeah.
It really says something negative when the best parts of it are the parts that don't involve Venom as a physical figure, but as just a voice.
I mean, yeah, I like the part where they're with the bad guys, and he's like, "We are
Real
no, no,
Venom!
we are
Real Venom!
we
We
are."
are.
Which are just
We.
trailer. They're just trailer moments,
Oh,
which
they're
are
just they're
funny.
just there to be trailer moments. Yeah, exactly. Um, oh, that's what I was gonna say. I don't know if this did badly or well or not, but yeah, don't do Spider-Man 4 where it's Toby, it's Andrew Garfield, and it's Tom Holland and Tom Hardy Venom's there, and the 3 Spider-Men get black suits. Don't do that.
Um, it had a budget of 110 to 120 million, and it made 476.4 million at
Ah,
the at the box office.
It did okay. It didn't bomb like Craven did. Yeah, Venom is the only one of those that has done well. And
And
you
that's
can really
and
blame
that's
Venom
because
for why the
that's
Spider-Man was one of
because the
those.
that's because Tom Hardy is a strong actor, and him and the voice of Venom are
Oh
strong
yeah,
enough.
like everyone
And
is just
they also just take the play, and that was the point that I made earlier off stream, I believe, was if they had used Venom, if Venom had shown up in Madam Web, for example, or had shown up in Craven, or had basically if you had taken Venom and turned him into your Spider-Man,
yeah, it could have
then
worked.
then I think the rest of the movies could have worked far better.
Yeah,
But they
they are
didn't.
consistently the best part of these movies, just hands down, consistently the best parts of these movies. Um, but yeah, with that, that's it. That's the stuff we missed. Hey everyone, it's Justin at the end card here, and let me know, have you seen any of the Spumm? That's the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel movies. Have you seen any of the Spumm? Have you witnessed any of the Spumm? Do you have favorite Spumm? Venom is our favorite Spumm. But what is your favorite Spumm? Let me know in the comments down below. If you would like, you can click the video on the left. That's going to take you to the full podcast that this episode is from. Or if you would like, you can click the video on the right, and that's going to take you to a random video that YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy. Otherwise, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell to be notified when you're going to get a new video. And we'll see you in the next video, everybody!